did sound like that. I said, I'm that's nice.
I'm sorry. Would you please hand me that water bottle?
A lot of fun, if you can tell. We're having a good time. How are you, sir? Oh, my pleasure. Well, however you guys want to do it. Yeah, you want to let Freddie take a ride in there on guitar? You want to let Freddie take a ride on guitar in there somewhere and I'll lay out? Yeah, because we've had... Okay. That sounds good. So I'll play a verse. Okay.
And he looks young. So you got good genes.
What key is that in?
B flat.
Soprano saxophone.
If it were mine, I'd let you touch it.
She asked me what that was. I said, that's a soprano saxophone. And if it were mine, I'd let you touch it. I'm wrong.
So what time do we need to be here tomorrow morning?
I think so. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Here. Yeah.
My dog dress glows in the dark, and Hannah's thing is a neon light. Those lights somewhere.
I didn't know what it was going to look like.
Can't imitate none of you guys.
And if you start getting close on mine, I'm going to change it. And I'll be singing different tomorrow.
Okay.
That's too funny. If I can imitate you,
You're using one of our air turn pedals, right?
What was that again?
You're using one of our turn pedals. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what I've got to get back.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that the only one then, Freddie? Are you using one of ours? You've got your own.
As soon as we're done singing.
what kind of air turn pedal you got?
Dessert. Sounds good.
This one, the black one?
Did you get the tire fit?
The BT-106? But it's a two-pedal one, right?
Yeah. And same thing on Friday. On Thursday. Yep.
I'm over the part.
Then you're free until.
I'm going to go look at it.
Mom, still, do you have a hair tie?
No.
You have a hair tie?
Not for your dog.
Tomorrow we have rehearsal. We've got 8 a.m. If we leave here at our 8 o'clock call time, the 8:30 performance, about 10 minutes
us off. We just come right in and sing.
We've got a 1:15 sound check with a 2 o'clock performance.
Do we need 115?
We got 1:15 and then again at 6 o'clock. So if we practice tomorrow right after we sing, all we should need is just a sound check.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Let the church say amen.
Hallelujah.
And amen begin.
Why do you have yellow stains on there?
It's how the light is. But if I had yellow stains, you think I want everybody to know. I'm just saying. Why you busting me out like that? Yeah, you is. Yeah, you is.
$99. Give me one of those. Can I just order it right now?
What's that?
I'm gonna give me an air turn pedal. Oh, $99.
Which one? The one they're using?
This looks like it's an upgrade from that. This is a Duo. I just got a BT106.
It's a what?
BT106.
What brand?
It looks very air turn.
Air turn?
Well, I don't know. It says air turn, but it also says Duo on it. Let me look. Yeah.
You know what? We should have thought about that yesterday. Bringing our mics back here instead of leaving them up there. I don't have it. Let's pick that up and put it on an empty chair. How about that? Put it right there.
Oh, that's good. That bourbon chicken's good. In the mall? No, I haven't had the blackened chicken. Do they have that there too?
Chopstick. I love chopstick. Love chopstick.
That made you happy?
There's a, if you ever get to Bloomington, Illinois, there's a place called Grandpa's Steak. Best steak rolls in the world. We got the little short salmon. Their sweet and sour sauce is really good. Yeah. It's not a heated one, it's always like 6 to 10.
I just bought one.
Her oldest daughter's naturally moves slower and stuff. So it's just like, hurry up, because you're gonna not even.
She's just saunter like, I got all the
Got a
time.
little sachet going on.
Uh,
Yeah, my pace is wide open.
we're always wide open.
When I get home from wherever, it doesn't matter. And the kids are in the car. Like, I get home, we're sitting in the driveway, the car's off, it's time to get out. Why are you still sitting there? Turn off the video game and get out of the car. Well, Daddy, need Grace? I'm gonna leave you sitting in this car.
Nuh-uh.
You wouldn't do that. Oh yes, I would. I sure would.
Watch this.
Youngest, great.
Yeah.
I can't have this dumb.
What in the world? That's crazy.
Oh yeah. How does dude get up?
Did you see this?
Yeah. You just get up and walk in.
He just get up and walk in the store like, I just got hit by a bus, but I'd like to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Did you see that guy hit me with that bus? That was crazy.
He was in a hurry.
Ryan Gage, but is he a robot?
Y'all made it back in time. Good job.
You get to sit by the Mike McDonald.
Macadorky. Been called that a million times. Macadorky and macaroni.
We've been married for 26 years.
Oh, there's Christine.
Yes. And we are very old. I am 48.
What are we celebrating? 37 or 38 this year?
My dad.
37.
He's so old you can't even remember.
You just now figure that out. I'm so old I had to lean up against something. That's what it is. You're just paranoid, see?
No, I was like, he gonna swing at me. You know,
Ooh,
That's
that's
a
a
nice
nice
picture. Really good picture.
Can you lay down and be real still?
I've seen it a long time.
Very good picture.
I always find something wrong.
No way, yeah.
It's not right.
Yeah. That was great. Perfect. That was a perfect picture right there.
He's getting just about to the point where I'm going, no,
Since we've been here. Oh, my.
Real fortunate reason I say, Grandpa just had surgery. Can't do that.
You didn't see that picture? It's beautiful.
It's awesome.
It really is a wonderful, wonderful picture of you.
Remember I introduced you in the clones?
Yeah.
He's been stalking you. And he had about 1,000. He picked that one.
Oh, it's time. Y'all better have my microphone in my hand. I'm not going to miss that first note this time. I wasn't ready last
I
time.
wasn't either. Who was?
Sharon was. Sharon came in on time for the first song this morning. Like, he was like,
he caught me on my Savior's
Oh, yeah, he did. That's right.
like Nazarene.
Yeah.
what's that cheers bar?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't have it on.
belong to you. Hope is stirring, hearts are yearning for you.
Yearn for you,
We
Lord.
long for you. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day. In your presence, all our fears are washed away. Washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. So hear the sound of hearts returning to you.
We turn to you, Lord.
We turn to you.
In your kingdom.
In your kingdom, broken lives are made new.
You make all things
You
new.
make all things new. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day.
In your presence,
In your
Lord.
presence, all our fears are washed away.
Oh,
Washed away.
stand with this church, sing out.
Hosanna, oh, Hosanna.
You are the God.
You are the God who saves
So
us,
much, Lord.
worthy of all our praises.
Oh,
Hosanna, Hosanna.
come have your way,
Come have your
Lord.
way
We
among us.
welcome you, Lord.
We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day.
In your presence.
In your presence, all our fears are washed away.
Yeah.
'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day.
In your presence, Lord.
In your presence, all our fears are washed away.
They're washed away.
Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves
So
us,
worthy, Lord.
worthy of all our
We
praise.
sing to you,
Hosanna, Hosanna.
come have your way, Lord. We welcome you.
We welcome you here, Lord Jesus.
Sing out. Oh, Hosanna.
Hosanna,
Sing out.
Hosanna, Hosanna.
Amen. We have much to thank him for, right? Much to praise him for, to shout out his name. Can you just stand together? Let's just sing this familiar chorus. Can you just sing, bless the Lord, O my soul, and worship his holy name? Let's sing, bless the Lord, O my soul, O my soul. I worship his holy name. Church, sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship your holy name. I'll sing that one more time, church. Bless the Lord. Bless the Lord, oh, my soul. Oh, my soul, I holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship your holy name. Yes, I will worship your holy name. Lord, I will worship your holy name. All right, thank you. You may be seated.
Well, we welcome you back this evening for this next session of General Board number 29. Let's bow our heads. Father, we thank you for the good day. We thank you for the brief rest and the good food and good fellowship we've enjoyed, the good conversations that have enriched and blessed our lives. And now we pray for your guidance as we move through the evening, and help us to be focused and productive on this night's business time. We ask this in the name of Jesus our Lord. Amen and amen. Welcome back. Just a word for you. The total of the offerings for General Assembly, including your gifts and the $50,000 matching gift, is $365,172. Of which $115,172 goes to assist the refugees in Syria, and we thank God for that. We're so close to 200,000 for them. I'm just kidding. But if somebody has $75,000, $85,000, and you've been looking for a place to put it, see me. I have a couple options for you, but see me and we'll be glad to receive that gift. Thanks for your generosity and your concern for people who are suffering and needing our help in these difficult days. Just a reminder that we have a lot of work to do. We finished our elections, and that's always an enjoyable time in the Assembly. I'm told that we have 177 resolutions yet to care for between now and Thursday evening, hopefully. So let's keep our minds and hearts clear and give our attention to what's taking place here at the table. And thank you for being on time tonight. We're going to now consider some church program, CP 103. If you'll find that on your devices, CP 103. We'll ask our reader to come and help us out.
Having considered CP 103, the Church Program Committee reports the following action. Action adopted. Vote 94 for adoption, 1 against adoption. CP 103, the local church Nazarene Youth International and the district Nazarene Youth International. Resolved that manual paragraph 150.1 be amended as follows. Just going to draw your attention to paragraph 150.1. There is the addition of paragraph references 810.100 through 810.118, and also the addition in the same sentence, C810.103. Further resolved that manual paragraphs 150.2 through 151.5 be deleted as follows, and those paragraphs are deleted. Following the deletion, further resolved that manual paragraph 240.1 be amended as follows. In paragraph 240.1, the addition of paragraph references 810.200 through 810.219, and also in the same sentence, see 810.203. Further resolved that manual paragraphs 240.2 through 240.4 be deleted as follows, and those paragraphs are deleted.
All right, CP 103, I believe it is, has been presented to us and has been affirmed by the committee, and it is before you, and the question is on the adoption of the resolution CP 103. Are there any questions? Question, yes. Mike 4.
Som. I'm speak Português. Please translate.
State your name and where you're
my
from.
my name is Humberto, Distrito Sudeste Paulista, Brasil.
Okay.
Are you going to speak in English or Portuguese?
Português.
Portuguese, okay. Be sure and give the translator time to break in.
Nós não temos a CP 103.
We don't have CP 103.
Para nós aqui a nuvem
For
está
us,
fora.
on cloud is out.
It's not on your device?
No, it's not.
No device.
All right. They don't have it. All right, thank you. They don't have it. Nobody has it, evidently. How many delegates do not have CP 103? Would you lift your hand? Show your hands. All right. Nearly all of our international do not have it.
It's under late resolutions. That's where
Have you looked under late resolutions?
it is.
Look under late resolutions. It's there. Thank you, my brother. All right. CP 103 is before us, and it is under late resolutions. Thank you for helping us and clarifying. Any questions about CP 103? You're ready to vote. All in favor of CP 103 as it has been amended and changed, would you signify by showing your hand? Thank you. Hands down. Any opposed? Would you signify by raising your hand? All right, thank you very much, and it is adopted. Let's go now to CP 104. CP 104.
Having considered CP 104, the Church Program Committee reports the following action. Action adopted. Vote 97 for adoption, 0 against adoption. CP 104, nomination and election of Global Nazarene Missions International Director. Resolved that manual paragraph 343.2 be amended as follows. The first paragraph of 343.2 is deleted. The new material, nomination and election of Global NMI Director. The Global NMI Executive Committee and the Jurisdictional General Superintendent will form the search committee to identify potential candidates for the position of Global NMI Director. Up to 2 names of potential candidates will be submitted to the Global Mission Committee of the General Board. The Global Mission Committee of the General Board, with the Jurisdictional General Superintendent, will consider the names submitted to it and ratify up to 2 names for election by the Board of General Superintendents. The Board of General Superintendents will elect the Global NMI Director by ballot from the names submitted to it by the Global Mission Committee of the General Board. The Global Director shall be an ex officio member of the Global Nazarene Missions International NMI Council, and a member of the staff of the Global Mission Office.
All right, the resolution is before us, CP 104, recommended for approval by the committee. Are there any questions about CP 104? Not seeing anyone move to a microphone. All who will approve and adopt CP 104 as amended, would you signify by lifting or showing your hand? Thank you. Hands down. Any who might be opposed, signify by showing your hand. All right, it is adopted. Thank you very much. Let's move now to Local Administration Committee. Local Administration Committee, I don't believe these are late resolutions. All right, we don't think these are late resolutions. So Local Administration Committee, LA 402, LA 402.
Having considered LA 402, the Local Administration Committee reports the following action. Amended and adopted. 85 for amendment and adoption. 4 against amendment and adoption. Calling of a pastor. Resolved that manual paragraph 116 be amended as follows. Affirming the value of family and the importance of pastors modeling peaceful and integrated lives, local churches should consider providing a maternity or paternity leave for the pastor and associates. District superintendents should encourage local churches to adopt maternity/paternity leave policies and provide for their development. Such policies may contain the following provisions. 1, timing and duration of maternity/paternity leave should be determined by mutual agreement of the pastor and the church board prior to anticipated childbirth or adoption placement. 2, maternity/paternity leave should be considered in addition to and separately from vacation. Number 3, the local church should consult with the pastor and district superintendent to arrange for a supply pastor during the period of maternity/paternity leave. Number 4, during maternity/paternity leave, the pastor's full salary and benefits continue. Any other arrangement shall be placed in writing and signed by the pastor, secretary of the church board, and the district superintendent.
All right, LA 402 is before you. It's been recommended for adoption by the committee, and the question is now on the adoption of resolution LA 402. Are there any questions about LA 402? All right, all who favor the adoption of the resolution as read for us tonight, would you indicate by showing your hand? Thank you. Hands down. Any opposed? Show your hands, please. Thank you very much, and it is adopted. LA 405. LA 405.
Having considered LA 405, the Local Administration Committee reports the following action. Adopted. Vote 89 in favor of adoption, 5 against adoption. The local church board. Resolved that manual paragraph 128 be amended as follows. 128. Meetings. The church board takes office at the beginning of the church year and shall have at least a bi-monthly meeting and shall meet specially when called by the pastor or district superintendent. The church board secretary shall call a special meeting of the board only with the approval of the pastor or the district superintendent when there is no pastor. Meetings of the church board, including voting, may be conducted through digital technology. Such meetings and votes shall have the same force and effect as votes at a meeting of members gathered in one room or area. Between the annual church meeting and the beginning of the church year, the newly elected church board may meet for organization purposes, at which time it shall elect a church board secretary and church treasurer as provided hereafter, and any other officer as shall be their duty to elect.
All right, LA 405 is before you, having been recommended for adoption by the committee. And the question now is on the adoption of the resolution LA 405. Are there any questions about LA 405? Then we're ready to vote. All who favor the adoption of the resolution as it was read, would you indicate by showing your hand? Thank you. Hands down. Any who are opposed, would you indicate by showing your hand? And it is adopted. LA 409, LA 409.
Having considered LA 409, the Local Administration Committee reports the following action. Amended and adopted. Vote 68 in favor of amendment and adoption, 7 against amendment and adoption. Co-pastors. Resolved that Manual 121 be amended as follows. First items are unchanged. Point 3, the pastoral review process shall be conducted as provided for in paragraph 123. Then follow the amendments or the changes. When a local church which has previously elected a senior pastor to serve for a specific term of 2 years or 4 years decides that they wish to add one or more ministers as co-pastors with the existing elected pastor, Manual paragraph 115 should be followed for this process. Upon approval by the district superintendent and a 2/3 vote of all the church board members, the church will vote on the question of whether the church wants to add a co-pastor rather than an associate pastor. If the motion carries, the name of the new co-pastor will be put on a ballot, and this person would need to receive a 2/3 vote of the congregation, as stated in Manual paragraph 115, in order to be approved to serve as co-pastor for that local church. Item 5. If the necessary 2/3 vote is received, the 2-year term would then begin with the same date for each minister. A regular pastoral/church review would be scheduled within 60 days of the second anniversary of the pastoral service of the co-pastors. Manual paragraph 123. Further resolved that Manual paragraph 121.1 be amended as follows. Within 60 days upon the resignation or termination of a co-pastor, the question of the pastoral relationship shall be presented to the church board, at which time the church shall follow the process outlined in paragraph 123. If the church board decides to no longer call a co-pastor, such a decision will require the approval of the district superintendent and the 2/3 vote of the local church membership.
Very well, LA 409 is before you, and the question is on the adoption of LA 409 as read before us. Are there any questions? All who favor the adoption of LA 409, would you indicate by the showing of your hand? Thank you. Hands down. Any who are opposed, would you indicate by the showing of your hand? And it is adopted. Thank you very much. LA 411. LA 411.
Having considered LA 411, the local church administration committee reports the following action. Amended and adopted. Vote 40 in favor of amendment and adoption, 35 against amendment and adoption. Electronic and multi-site meetings, local church. Resolved that Manual paragraph 113.2 be amended as follows. There is no provision for absentee voting in church meetings. All local church meetings, church board, councils, and committees shall be authorized to meet by telephone conference or through other electronic media if all involved have opportunity to communicate and participate. Voting in annual and special meetings in multiple sites and times shall be conducted via a process approved by the District Advisory Board. all communications and voting may be carried out electronically.
All right, LA 411 is before you as amended and adopted. The question is on the adoption of LA 411 as read. Are there any questions? Microphone number 9, I believe. Microphone number 9.
Stan Hall, Missouri District, United States. Against. First sentence says, there is no provision for absentee voting in church meetings. And then the last sentence says just the opposite. It makes absolutely no, I was on this committee. It makes absolutely no sense to me. That's the first problem. The second problem is it creates all kinds of conflict. The issue of voting electronically as a church board, as a pastor, I can send out something to 9 people. They all get it. But to send something out to everyone on my roll, there's no way that the church can. This says that everyone somewhere has the opportunity to communicate and participate. There's absolutely no way that can happen. Third, someone can move to the other side of the country, still be on my church rolls and vote for a pastoral call or whatever because it's electronic. They don't have to be present. It just seemed to me that this was just full of problems, besides the fact that the first sentence and the last sentence are contradictions. So I would go against this.
All right, I would take that as a statement against adoption. Microphone number 10.
Terry Rowland, USA, Canada. I'm not sure I understand if all involved can communicate. Does that mean there has to be approval of everyone has to be involved in that process? Can no one be left off?
Maybe someone from the committee could address that. Local Church Administration Committee Chairman, would you step to the microphone and help us out? Brother Gunter, thank you. He is moving to a microphone. Microphone number 2. Microphone number 2, please.
Dwight Gunter, Southeast USA region. I was chairperson of this committee, so I did the chairperson thing and not comment. There are issues. The biggest issue one of the issues we discussed, if my memory serves me correctly, is the have opportunity meant that it did not mean that everyone had to participate. Just like a normal annual meeting, you have an annual meeting, not everyone shows up, but they can get to the church and enter the doors, they have opportunity. And so the idea from the committee, again, if I'm representing them correctly, is that they would have opportunity so that if it's, and this also was in a process that was to be approved by the district advisory board, and that was not to approve every meeting, but it was to approve a general process that then churches could utilize. So that was the idea of making sure everyone had access, not making sure everyone was actually there.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gunter. We appreciate that. Does that answer your question? Very good. Microphone 4.
My name is Keith Horwood. I'm with Intermountain District, USA, Canada, speaking against. We have a similar motion that came through the district committee, and I have a similar question or clarification that I think needs to be answered, one of which is the one that was just addressed, which is, what does it mean, does everyone get a chance to participate? And the second one is, I think we need to decide how to get consistent at our description of the media that we're using. The last motion that we passed said digital. This one says electronic or other. And it seemed to make sense to me if we use the same term each time so that I know that the fact that I have an analog telephone doesn't mean that I can't participate, but that we use similar language.
All right, thank you very much. Microphone number 5, for or against?
I'd like to present a motion, I believe. I would like to
And
explain
would you
why.
like to identify yourself, please?
I'm sorry. My name is Bud Pugh, Oregon Pacific District, Northwest Region, USA, Canada.
All right.
We presented this resolution on the basis of multi-versions or definitions of campuses, including online campuses, that we have a number of churches that are holding online campuses and allowing participation.
And you're going to make some kind of motion?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. If you would move and then speak.
I would move an amendment to include annual meeting and special meetings.
To include annual meeting and special meeting?
And I would do so on the basis of multiple opportunities are now being available for folks to participate in local church congregations online, and that would be the only
So you would
way.
include, you would just place back in the document annual meeting and special meeting?
I would.
All right, that's a motion to amend. Is there a second? Did I hear a second over here? All right, we have a second. Now, would you like to speak in favor of this amendment?
Thank you. I'll repeat myself. As I stated, there are multiple ways to hold church these days, and there may be more coming down the pike. And multi-site campuses, as well as online campuses, are now prevalent, and this gives opportunity for folks in those venues to participate.
All right, thank you very much. You have the amendment that we add the words back into the document, annual meeting and special meeting, in line 19. And we have a second. Are there any questions about the amendment? The amendment is before you then. If you're in favor of the amendment to add back into the document annual meetings and special meeting, would you indicate by the showing of your hand? All right, you can put those hands down. If you're opposed to the amendment to add those two phrases, would you show your hands? All right, the amendment fails. Now we have LA 411 before us. Are there any questions about LA 411? Microphone number 4. Identify yourself and whether you are speaking for or against.
Mark Abela, Illinois District, Canada, USA. Neither for nor against, just a point of clarification, if I could get it from the committee. Did the committee discuss the potential ramifications of legal issues as they pertain to holding electronic meetings and some of the requirements that some individual states or potentially countries may have in place that govern not-for-profits?
All right, we'll ask our chairman to speak to that. Dr. Gunter, thank you so much for helping us out. Microphone number 2, please.
Dwight Gunter, Southeast USA. No.
Thank you.
That's the short answer, but our parliamentarian may be able to help us from a USA perspective regarding the legality of this. It's my understanding that it is legal if it's there, but I have been wrong before.
Yeah, he's shaking his head no over here, and you're saying no over there, so I'm not sure. We do know something about Robert's Rules. If you want to know what Robert's Rules says about it, can you share that with us? Yeah, you could do that much better than I.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On page 97 of the current edition of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, it says something I think you might find interesting. Among some organizations, there is an increasing preference, especially in the case of a relatively small board or other assembly, to transact business at electronic meetings. That is, at meetings at which, rather than all participating members being physically present in one room or area, as in traditional face-to-face meetings, some or all of them communicate with the others through electronic means such as internet or by telephone. A group that holds such alternative meetings does not lose its character as a deliberative assembly, so long as the meetings provide at a minimum conditions of opportunity for simultaneous oral communication among all participating members, equivalent to those of meetings held in one room or area. Under such conditions, electronic meetings must be properly authorized in the bylaws.
All right, that's Robert's Rules of Order for you. Back to microphone number 4. Question or?
Maybe a follow-up then. I would actually stand then and speak opposed, mainly because I believe it does need language just to ensure, even as he indicated, that the communication is one simultaneous. 2, that it also meets the local jurisdiction's legal requirements as they relate to not only the meeting and the communication, but also any kind of motions or action that is taken, because some jurisdictions will require additional steps in some of those electronic meetings, depending on how they're covered. And that would potentially put some of our local churches in a bit of a legal bind.
All right, thank you. I do think that the manual from time to time indicates that we realize that local jurisdictions may prohibit some of the practices we have that don't regard to polity or morality, but that there are sometimes when we have to conform to legal requirements in a particular jurisdiction. All right, any other questions? LA 411. Microphone 8.
Alderik Bos, Dutch District. I was in the District Administration Committee and we
Speaking for or against?
It's a question.
Oh, question, all right.
We had a resolution like this in the District Administration, and the sentence here that other wait a little bit down. Yeah, thank you. Church board councils and committees shall be authorized to meet by telephone conference or through other electronic media if involved and have the opportunity to communicate and participate. The same sentence was in there, and we have changed it there. And I think it's good that we have the same text in the resolutions. And I don't know exactly what the new text is, but maybe the secretary or the chairman can tell this.
All right, thank you, my friend. I'm not sure that would help us in this case, but thank you. That comes from district administration, I believe. Microphone 10.
Yes, Darrell Blank from Southwest Ohio, USA. I was on this committee as well, and I'm not speaking for or against because honestly at this point I don't even remember what I voted on. But I would like to give some clarity to what was taking place. There was 2 conversations. One, our international delegates talked about the difficulties of having meetings face-to-face. And so this was important to them, as I recall. And secondly, that many of us, both at a district level and a local level, are already doing this. And it was felt by a small majority that this would at least give permission to do so, if that makes sense.
All right, and they've obviously been concerned about permission up to this time, haven't they? Thank you, Brother Darrell. All right. Any other questions or comments about LE 411? Microphone 5. Yes, Dr. Gunter. Oh, that's 2. Microphone 5.
Over here. Steve Rodehaver, Southern California District, USA, Canada. I would like to make a motion to amend, and the amendment would be to strike the first sentence. The first sentence ends up being in contradiction with the last sentence and is kind of the rationale for the whole resolution. And so strike the first sentence, and so that paragraph 113.2 would start at all local church meetings.
All right. Is there a second to the motion? Am I hearing a second anywhere? I see over there, thank you. All right, it's moved and seconded that the first sentence, there's no provision for absentee voting in church meetings, be stricken from this paragraph. The amendment is before you. Any questions about the amendment? Microphone number 4.
Jaron Rao, Kansas City, USA. I would speak against that amendment. This first sentence of paragraph, what is now the entirety of Manual 113.2, is a paragraph that I need to quote regularly to local churches who constantly ask the question about absentee balloting. To remove this would be a real deficit.
All right. That's a speech against the amendment. Microphone number 5, I think.
Stan Reeder, Oregon Pacific. I speak against the amendment because I believe that absentee voting is completely different than electronic involvement.
All right. Thank you very much. That would be 1 in favor and 1 against. Is that right? 2 against. All right. Microphone number 10.
My name is Jake Duckworth. I'm from the Northern California District. I'm speaking against the amendment. The idea that an absentee voting is when you mail something in or send it by email with no connection to the meeting that's going on. And what they're trying to convey in this paragraph is the idea that the person might be present, though through video conferencing or by telephone, that they are participating in an actual timely way at the event, though not there presently.
All right. Thank you very much. Point of clarification here. Microphone number 2.
I'm waiting till after the amendment is settled, just to clarify a part of our discussion.
All right. Are you wanting to speak? Microphone number 2. For or against?
It's just a comment I wanted to make.
For or against?
I think my comment will be kind
for
of against.
Or against?
Against.
We've
against.
already had 3 against.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes.
Can I change my remark to be a for and then speak on my comment?
The parliamentarian says you can't do that.
By the time I finish speaking, it'll be a for. I can wait until after.
Okay, thank you, my brother. But I appreciate your flexibility. All right, we have the amendment before us, which is to strike the first sentence from this paragraph. I think that's where we are. Is that correct? Yes. All right, any other questions about the amendment? We're ready to vote. Microphone number 9. Are you for or against?
I'm for with an amendment for the amendment. My name's Amy Nielsen from Mid-Atlantic District. In order to make my brother Jaron Rao happy, could we amend it to say, in order to allow for absentee voting or discussion in church meetings, not necessarily even voting, but if someone wants to participate in a meeting, whether or not there's voting, to allow for that, would that cover both?
Okay, we need to know, the amendment is, there is no provision for absentee voting at church meetings. And that's to strike that out. How are you addressing the amendment that's before us? The document is not now before us, it's this amendment.
The amendment with this change right here?
Yes, with this change.
I'm offering a second amendment to the amendment.
Our parliamentarian says I need to chat.
Okay.
I'm informed that the only way you can amend something that is going to strike something out is to strike out from the amendment what's being stricken, thus putting it back in the document. So it would be best for clarity if you would wait until we vote on this and then bring an amendment if you feel you need to. Is that okay?
Sure.
Thank you. I love a cooperative spirit. Don't go very far. You may want to come back up, and I don't want you to have to walk too far. All right, the amendment is before you to strike the first sentence from this paragraph 113.2. Any other questions? Microphone 5, are you for or against?
I have a question that I think will bring clarity to this. Ray Stark from the Pittsburgh District. Am I not correct that Robert's Rules of Order already says you cannot do absentee ballots, and also our manual states that we follow Robert's Rules of Order? So we're spinning our wheels going over and over something that's already been defined for us and we cannot adjust. Is that not correct?
Our parliamentarian says that our manual trumps anything Roberts might say about this.
Even though it says we follow Robert's Rules of Orders.
Well, we do that when it's convenient, you know. No, we really do follow Robert's Rules of Order, but there are some things we do by tradition, and we have practices that may not completely comply. Microphone number 4. Good evening, my friend.
Good evening.
Microphone number 4.
Charles Davis, USA, Canada. I'd like for the chair to rule on a point of order. If we accept the fact that absentee voting is different from electronic voting, the language we're trying to address was not originally included in the resolution and therefore has not gone through the committee process, so would not be germane. If you accept the fact that absentee voting is different from electronic voting, if you accept they're the same, they're germane. But if they're different, it would seem there'd be a point of order. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Give me a moment. It was already in the document. It was already in the manual. Yes.
Well, then I think it is germane. I mean, I don't know how they could say.
All right, I've been advised by the parliamentarian that since that sentence was already in the paragraph, that it is germane to the conversation. Thank you. All right, microphone 10. Microphone 10.
A question I have. Jake Duckworth again from the Northern California District. Does everyone understand that there is a difference between being present electronically at a meeting and mailing in a vote while you're snow skiing or something like that?
I think the delegation is aware of that difference.
Good.
Yes, thank you. All right, let's go back to microphone number 2 and the chairman of this committee.
Yes, just for clarification, again, if my memory serves me correctly,
Is this about the amendment?
this is about it does involve the amendment. The issue of absentee was not equated with electronic, just in the committee. So if you're wondering if absentee went through committee process, we didn't really deal with absentee because we were dealing with electronic viewing, just almost by implication, viewing it as different.
All right.
And then I'll clarify something else.
Okay, that's very helpful. The committee did not consider absentee voting to be the equivalent of electronically participating in a meeting. So with that in mind, we get an understanding of where the committee was. Now the amendment is before you to strike the first sentence from this paragraph. And if you favor the adoption of the amendment, please indicate by showing your hand. All right, thank you. If you oppose the amendment, would you indicate by showing your hand? All right, thank you very much. So the document is now before us again, right? We're back to the document. Microphone 2.
Dwight Gunner, Southeast USA. To clarify further, the way this reads is it utilizes the word shall and if, so as to ensure that this does not have to become the practice and the only practice. And it was indeed for church board, councils, and committees to help in areas in satellites, as well as churches that have church board members who travel, but who could participate via Skype and other electronic media. And that was the conversation and the tone that and the point of discussion in that meeting.
All right, thank you. That's helpful. That's helpful. All right, the resolution is before you. LA 411 is now before you. Any other questions? Recommended for adoption. Microphone number 2, you have a comment for or against?
I have a comment for Kafor from Fiji, Asia Pacific region.
Okay.
Well, firstly, the amendment now is looking much the way I was thinking. I just wanted to point out that 113 made specific reference to the application of the Robert Rules of Order. So I just wanted to make that comment because
Yes.
it was referenced earlier, and we were talking about Robert Rules, but it's also accounted for here. But
Yes.
I'm happy with that.
Yes,
At least
all
it's
right.
improved.
All right, thank you, thank you. Microphone number 9. Microphone number 9.
Michael Brian Aaron from Alabama South. I was on this committee. And if you scroll down to reason number 2.
Are you speaking for or against?
I'm sorry, against.
Against, all right. And that will be the third, I'm told.
All right. If you scroll down to reason number 2, we were led to believe in the committee that there was no provision for this in the Robert's Rules of Order. However, what we heard from the parliamentarian was that there are provisions for this in the Robert's Rules of Order. So at the committee level, we were under the perception there were no provision for this.
All right, thank you. That's a clarification for us. Microphone number 10.
I'm Monty Chitwood, Northwest District. I would like to move to amend the motion. That amendment, if I may, sir, would be to delete on the third line, church meetings, wherein the intention would be to authorize church board, councils, and committees, et cetera, to conduct accordingly, but not broader church meetings.
All right, that is the motion to amend. You're talking about line 19.
Line 4.
It is line 4 there. It's line 19 in my, but you're correct.
Thank you.
Brother Monty, thank you. All right, the motion is that we strike the words church meetings. Is that correct? All right. Is there a second to that amendment? I see a hand back there. Thank you. Would you like to speak to it? I see you lingering. I thought you might want to add a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason for this amendment is to suggest that managing the electronic means through the broader congregational meeting certainly offers significant challenges, wherein a smaller group identified by the church board, council, and committees, I believe, are more manageable within the local congregational setting. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we have this amendment before us. You ready to vote? All who favor the amendment, would you, I'm sorry, microphone number 5, thank you.
I'm not sure if this is in order either, but I'm wondering if we shouldn't also strike the word all, which might confuse people to think that they have
That's
to do
a
it.
separate amendment.
It is, okay.
Yes, thank you. Microphone number 5.
Stan Reeder from Oregon Pacific District. We feel it is very important to maintain I speak against the amendment. We feel it's very important to maintain the church meetings because of the number of churches now that have multi-site campuses in different cities, and they have to have some means of having annual meetings and are unable to all come together to one location. Also, we have a number of churches that have very active internet services, and people from all around the world are actively engaged in the church through that means. They also have to have some way of participating in church meetings. I think this will proliferate as time goes on, and so I would speak against the amendment to strike church meetings. I believe that's an important part of the original motion. Also, there is a provision of the District Advisory Board issuing a level of control on the kinds of meetings that do take place. So it's not just a carte blanche permissions.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we've had a speech in favor of the amendment and against the amendment. Microphone number 9. Microphone number 9.
Stan Hall, Missouri District. I just have a question. The part that we just deleted is also stated in the second paragraph. Doesn't it need to be deleted as well?
We didn't delete anything, did we? We have not deleted anything.
No, I'm sorry. The part that we marked out with church meetings, annual meetings, that part, the amendment that's on the table now?
Well, just church meetings.
Yeah. So down below in the second paragraph, it says voting in annual and special meetings. That would include church meetings. Would it not?
I'd have to ask the chairman of the committee if that's included, if that was in the mind of the committee.
Sorry to wait.
Now you see why our committee took 3 days. I'm not really sure what was in the mind of our committee.
Could we have the light on microphone number 2, please? Microphone number 2.
Because of, we really debated this inside and out, thus the reason for the close vote. But again, the idea of this whole motion as we presented it was to allow simultaneous participation in the meetings under the approval of a process approved by the District Advisory Board, so that multi-site could participate, so that traveling board members could participate, and we know that some things are subject to misinterpretation. But I believe that was what was in the mind, and anyone on the committee can feel free to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there was someone at a microphone back this way. Microphone number 10.
Mr. Chairman, Monty Chitwood, in reference to Dr. Reeder's concerns, it appears to me by leaving in the second paragraph, although we did delete with specificity the local church meetings and the annual meeting, the second paragraph still allows, upon request and approval of the advisory board, a system to permit it. Even though it's disallowed in the first, the flexibility remains to be approved by the DAB as provided in the second paragraph. So my interpretation would be both concerns would be met in that process. But it doesn't provide an automatic that the broader congregational meeting could be conducted via telephone conference, et cetera.
All right, thank you very much. The amendment is before us now to strike the 2 words church meetings. Church meetings. Any other comments about this particular amendment? Microphone number 2.
Rubens Rodrigues, Distrito Nordeste Central, Brasil. Não sei se alguém pode me ajudar com a tradução.
Translation, please.
Ruben Rodrigues of the Central District in Brazil.
Sim, eu sou a favor daquela emenda, sim.
I am in favor of this amendment.
Porque no nosso país,
because in my country,
a lei exige que para uma reunião anual da igreja ter valor,
for an annual meeting of the church,
todos os membros têm que assinar livro de ata.
Just a moment, my brother. You need to give time for the translator. Okay. If you're walking on one another, we can't hear.
Okay.
So please.
Ok. A lei no nosso país, e eu creio que em outros países também,
in my country and I believe in other countries as well,
exige que para uma reunião anual da igreja local,
The law requires that for an annual meeting of a local church,
cada membro se identifique assinando um livro de ata com a sua documentação para posteriormente ser registrado em cartório.
each member identify himself by signing a minute document.
Eu não vejo como fazer isso à distância, com as pessoas à distância, como vão assinar o livro de ata e como vai se obedecer à exigência da lei.
I don't see how this could be done at a distance, remotely, how the participants would be able to sign their names in the minute book.
Por essa razão, eu sou a favor de retirar ali, sou a favor da emenda, retirar a reunião anual da igreja.
For this reason, I am in favor of removing the expression annual meetings of the church.
All right. We're not removing annual meetings, just church meetings. All right. The amendment is before you. The amendment is to strike the two words church meetings. All who favor the adoption of this amendment, would you indicate by the show of hands? All right, hands down. All who are opposed to this amendment, would you indicate by the show of hands? And it would be the judgment of the chair that the amendment fails. All right, we're back to the motion now. Back to the motion, LA 411. Are you ready to vote? Microphone number 4.
Sorry. I'd like to suggest an amendment.
Name and are you speaking?
I'm sorry, Mark Abla, Illinois District, USA
For
candidate.
or against?
Amendment. A motion, sorry.
Oh, you're speaking to the motion. Oh, you want to make an amendment?
I want to amend
Okay.
the resolution, thank you. I'd
Thank
like
you.
to add the word simultaneous just prior to communicate.
All right. The addition would be simultaneous just before the word communicate. That would be on line 10.
Sorry, simultaneously communicate. I apologize.
And that would be on line 10.
On
is that-
line 10.
All right. Add the word simultaneously. Is that right?
Yes.
Simultaneously, just before the word communicate on line 10 as you see it on the screen.
And then I'll speak to it.
Those of you who are looking at your devices, find that word. Is there a second to that motion? All right, several seconds. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, briefly, and just in light of what you had indicated, that Mano does create the provision that requires that everything is looked at in accordance with local jurisdictions and laws, but also just to make sure it's abundantly clear for our local churches that it's not carte blanche, that there does need to be the opportunity for give and take. And I think the word simultaneous brings this together and could create something that would potentially solve what some of the problems that I'm hearing around the room and some of those communication issues, and also then solve our issues in regards to some of the legalities, legal issues that could be created.
All right, thank you very much. All right, the amendment is before you to add the word simultaneously, just before the word communicate. And it would be on different lines depending on what device you're seeing the information. Any questions about the amendment? I see movement. We're looking at microphone number 5. Microphone number 5.
Yes, it's Sam Doctorian from Los Angeles District. It seems like there's some Russian hacking going on here. And so I just want to question and clarify. Could we table this motion and send it back to General Superintendent?
You could refer it to the Board of General Superintendents.
Okay. That's
They
what
would
I'll-
be happy to receive it, I'm sure.
Okay.
Is that a motion from you, my brother? You want to step back up and say, I so move? Because I've got people behind me that will be unhappy if they lay that blame on me.
I'm so afraid here now. Yes, I am.
All right.
I so moved.
We have the motion to refer this to the Board of General Superintendents. who eagerly await its revival. Is there a second out there? All right. All right. Any questions about this motion? I see movement. I feared there might be movement. I mean, I was happy to see movements. Microphone number 4.
Ken Willard, Kansas District. Mr. Chairman, I just have a question for the parliamentarian. If it is true that this freedom is already permitted in Robert's rules, is this resolution even necessary?
Yeah, that's not pertinent to the motion to refer.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
thank
so
you.
I could wait until that's resolved, I
So
guess.
you might-
But this would take that burden off of the general superintendent.
Well, I don't know if you want to do that. I'm just saying. Let us take care of this vote, and then we'll come back and answer your question. Thank you. All right. Any other questions about the motion to refer? Microphone number 4.
I would call the question.
That's not. I don't need a motion. Which question are you talking about? Motion to refer?
Yes.
Motion to refer. Is there a second? Second. Lots of seconds. Are you ready to vote on the motion to refer? Those who are in favor of the motion to refer, would you? No. Are you in favor of voting? Oh, if you're ready to vote, all right. If you're ready to vote, would you indicate so by the show of hands? If you're ready to vote on the document, on the motion to refer, all right. Hands down. If you're opposed to the motion to refer, to vote on the motion to refer. Yes. And you're ready to vote on the motion to refer, would be my interpretation. All right? Now the motion to refer. Yeah, I did. Yeah. The motion to refer is before you. Any questions? All in favor, would you indicate by the showing of hands? God bless you. Hands down. Any who are opposed, would you show your hands? All right. Thank you very much. Should we do that by? It's gone. All right. Thank you very much. And I'm going to take about a 2-minute break. Well, just long enough for me to get back to my chair and long enough for someone else to get here. And rule of what? Yes, it carried. Yeah, it's referred. Motion's referred. All right? I think I'm hearing a call for the division of the House. Is that right? Okay. All right. Take your devices. I can't go yet. Take your devices. And the questions on the motion to refer. And it takes a simple majority to carry. Take your devices. We'll ask that they be prepared for voting. If you're in favor of the motion to refer, you'll vote yes. If you're opposed, you'll vote no. Please vote now. Has everybody voted? All right, the balloting is closed. And we'll wait with great anticipation for the result. Simple majority. All right, it is referred. Thank you very much. We're going to take about a 3 to 5 minute break. And all minds will be clear, and Dr. Eugenio Duarte is coming to join you.
They decided you need to be put through your paces before you retired, right? My gosh. Yeah. That's why you got to have 3 sets of eyes, right? You know. So what we have is that the motion with the pending amendment to add the word simultaneous, the whole business, is referred. Referred to the general superintendent. Yeah, they should have gone ahead and adopted simultaneous and gone ahead and done it. You know,
if it hadn't been so long pending.
somebody might move to reconsider that today or tomorrow. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody doesn't try to move today or tomorrow to reconsider that vote. You know, a little more information, but we'll see.
Should not be what?
They give you a lot to do, these people.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would take
your seat. We will continue with the business this evening. We've got a lot to do, and the more we can accomplish tonight, the less we will have to do tomorrow. Thank you so much for taking your seat. All right, we will start with LA 410. LA 410 was rejected by the local administration committee, so it will not be presented to you at this time, at this point. CA 702. CA 702.
Having considered CA 702, the Church Program Committee reports the following action. Adopted. Vote 94 in favor of adoption, 4 against adoption. Matrimony. Resolved that manual paragraph 803 be amended as follows. Matrimony. At the day and time appointed for the solemnization of matrimony, the persons to be married, having been qualified according to law and by careful counsel and guidance by the minister, standing together facing the minister, the man to the minister's left and the woman to the minister's right. The minister shall address the congregation as follows. Dearly beloved, we are gathered together here in the sight of God in the presence of these witnesses to join together this man and this woman in holy matrimony, which is an honorable estate instituted of God in the time of humankind's innocency, signifying unto us the mystical union that exists between Christ and the church. This holy estate Christ adorned and beautified with his presence and first miracle that he wrought in Cana of Galilee, and the writer to the Hebrews commended as being honorable among all people. It is not to be entered into unadvisedly, but reverently, discreetly, in the fear of God, and the remainder of the paragraph remains the same.
All right. The committee recommends that the resolution CA 702 be adopted. Is there any discussion, any question? All right. Microphone number 4.
Will Hayworth, Illinois. I was just wondering, we dealt with a ceremony earlier, a marriage ceremony. I was wondering how that compares with this, if it's
I believe
the same language, if it's the same, are we doing the same thing twice?
I believe there are specific words, so the language, it's not exactly the same. Thank you for the question.
Okay.
Thank you,
sir. Would be a possibility to, what was that we adopted before JU, whatever it was?
We could ask the chair of the committee to explain that to you.
I would appreciate it.
Dr. Reeder? Microphone 5.
Stan Reeder from Oregon Pacific. Our committee passed this with the recommendation that translators in our notes. It wasn't part of the action, but our comments were that translators would pay special attention to appropriate language, especially the Portuguese. Seemed like it was a matter of issue. As far as the gentleman's concern regarding is this overlapping with some of the other material we've already covered, I'm not certain as to the language of the other material either. So I may not be able to shed much light on that.
All right, thank you so much. Any other discussion? No further discussion? Those in favor of adopting the resolution, please show a hand at this time. Thank you. Hands down. And those opposed, show a hand. It carries. CA, just a second. The General Secretary has an announcement to make at this time.
Just an explanation. I've received a question from a new delegate, and I want to make sure that you understand. The question is why we go out of order in terms of how resolutions are presented. A lot of it has to do with how a committee handles the resolutions. Our rules of order allow them to handle in any order that they would like. And so there are times when they handle certain things earlier than others, even though they are out of order. And so they come to my staff in a report, and they may be out of order in that report. And so when they are presented here, they come to us in report form, and that is why they are handled sometimes in kind of jumping around a little bit in terms of how the resolutions are handled here in the plenary meetings.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Let's go now to CA 704.
Having considered CA 704, the Church Program Committee recommends that this paragraph remain in the manual and reports the following action. Adopted. Vote 94 in favor of adoption, 2 against adoption. Manual appendix review, discrimination. Resolved that manual paragraph 903.2 be reconsidered and that a recommendation be made to include it as it is in the 2017 manual or modify it or eliminate it from the 2017 and succeeding manuals according to manual paragraph 902.5.
All right. The committee recommends that this be adopted. And that means to retain the language. So are there questions? See no questions? All right. Those in favor of adopting the resolution, CA 704. CA 704. All right. Microphone number 4. Sorry.
Davis,
Microphone
USA.
number 4.
Charles Davis, Canada, USA. The resolution is either to include, modify, or eliminate. If we adopt the resolution, have we included, modified, or eliminated?
What we have here is an indication that they recommended that this paragraph remain in the manual.
Okay. Well, the report we got was we recommend the adoption of the resolution. So if it's a recommendation to remain.
To remain, yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
All right, thank you. Okay, can we go back? Any other question? All right, let's go back to the vote. CA 704. Those in favor of adopting the recommendation, please show a hand. Thank you. Hands down. And opposed, the same sign. It is adopted. CA 703 was rejected, so it will not come to you at this time. JUD 808.
Having considered JUD 808, the Special Judicial Committee reports the following action. Action adopted. Vote 16 for adoption, 0 against. JUD 808, contested discipline of a member of the clergy. Resolved that manual paragraph 606 be amended as follows. Following a decision by a board of discipline, the accused, the district advisory board, or those who sign the charges shall be entitled to appeal the decision to the Regional Court of Appeals. The rest of the paragraph remains unchanged.
Thank you. The committee recommends that Resolution JUD 808 be adopted. Any discussion? Ready to vote? If you are in favor of adopting JUD 8106, please show a hand. Thank you. And if you are opposed, show a hand. It is adopted. JUD 809.
Having considered JUD 809, the Special Judicial Committee reports the following action. Action adopted. Vote 18 for adoption, 0 against. JUD 809, clergy discipline. Resolved that manual paragraph 605.1 be amended as follows. If a member of the clergy is accused of conduct unbecoming a minister or of teaching doctrines out of harmony with the doctrinal statement of the Church of the Nazarene, such accusations shall be placed in writing and shall be signed by at least 2 members of the Church of the Nazarene who are at the time in good standing. The rest of the paragraph remains the same.
The committee recommends adoption of JUD 809. Any questions? Questions? If you are in favor of adopting JUD 809, please show a hand at this time. Thank you. And if you are opposed, show your hand now. Thank you so much. It is adopted. MED 517. MED 517.
Having considered MED 517, the Ministry and Education Committee reports the following action. Amended and adopted. Vote 75 in favor of amendment and adoption, 2 against amendment and adoption. Restrictions for persons who are guilty of sexual misconduct involving children and/or the unempowered. Resolved that manual paragraph 129.30 be amended as follows. To adopt and implement a plan to reduce the risk that individuals placed in positions of authority within the church will use the position of trust or authority to engage in misconduct. In order to protect the innocence of children and/or the unempowered, the plan must stipulate that any person guilty of sexual misconduct involving children and/or the unempowered shall not be permitted to serve in any position of responsibility for or ministry with children and/or the unempowered, or be granted a ministerial license. In matters of sexual misconduct involving children, a person shall be considered a child until the age of 18, unless a state's or country's own domestic legislation establishes the age of majority is attained later than the age of 18. This definition shall also apply in localities where the age of consent is lower than the age of 18. An unempowered person is one who is unable to protect him or herself against significant harm or exploitation. Further resolved that manual paragraph 903.3 be amended as follows. The Church of the Nazarene abhors abuse of any person of any age or sex and calls for increased public awareness through its publications and providing appropriate educational information. The Church of the Nazarene affirms its historical position that all those who act under the authority of the Church are prohibited from sexual misconduct and other forms of abuse of the unempowered. When selecting individuals to serve in positions of trust or authority, the Church will withhold such positions from those who have previously used a position of trust or authority to engage in sexual misconduct or abuse of the unempowered, unless appropriate steps are taken to prevent future wrongful behavior. Expressions of remorse by a guilty person shall not be considered a sufficient basis on which to presume appropriate future, unless the expressions of remorse are accompanied by an observable and positive change of conduct for a sufficient length of time. Furthermore, in order to protect the innocence of children and/or the unempowered, those guilty of sexual misconduct involving children and/or the unempowered must not be permitted to serve in any position of responsibility for or ministry with children and/or the unempowered, or be granted a ministerial license. The final paragraph repeats a previous paragraph.
Thank you. Microphone number 4.
Sheila Zani from the North Central USA. And I would like to move that we amend the resolution to include on line 18, or elect or appointed to any leadership role in the local church without direct supervision. Also repeating that verbiage on line 48.
That's number. All right. So that is, which line did you refer to?
Line 18, and repeating the change as well on line 48.
Okay, line 18. All right. Okay, okay. Just give us a second here to find, we're trying to find the exact, you referred to line 18, and it doesn't seem to be the line that we have on the document here. What we have appears to be on line 29 and 30. You want to reinstate that which has been deleted, right?
Yes, I would like to reinstate it and add the point without direct supervision.
And add without direct supervision. Thank you so much. And did you say that you want it somewhere else?
The same location later in the document.
Okay. Line 12 on the other page. All right, that's an amendment. So is there a second? I see a second. Thank you so much. Any discussion? Microphone number 9.
Albert Hung, Northern California.
Sorry, sir. Just a second. Did you say all that you needed to say, or do you want to speak to the amendment?
I want to speak to the amendment.
Please go ahead. Sorry, sir.
Okay. What I would also like to state is that understanding that we believe in redemption, the power of our God, we also need to understand the addiction of the offender who has experienced regeneration and needs to be considered, that we have an obligation to protect him as the offender as well as the unempowered. And in so doing, by supervision, we would be able to allow that.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, microphone number 9.
Albert Hung, Northern California District. If I could just actually ask for some clarification from my sister who just made the proposal for a little bit further clarification. And would you mind maybe going, I'm sorry, back to the microphone? I did want to ask for clarification.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Ask your question.
Okay, so the question is the amendment, is the intention in order to provide more grace to somebody who would like to serve, or is it to provide greater protection for perhaps children or the unempowered? That wasn't quite clear to me.
Microphone 9.
So I was actually on this committee, and understanding addiction and knowing that this potentially could put that offender who's experienced regeneration back into a position where they would be tempted. I feel like we need to protect both the offender who's experienced regeneration and the unempowered. So I feel like this includes both of the situations where we can address both the offender who's experienced regeneration as well as the unempowered.
Thank you. Does that answer the question, brother?
Yes, it does. And in that case, I would like to speak against the resolution, or the amendment.
The amendment? Go ahead.
And the reason being, I believe it weakens the protections for children and the unempowered. I do think it's important, although we do want to show grace towards those who are regenerated, I do think that it opens a greater possibility of exposure to harm, and I do think that the resolution as originally stated makes a very firm statement against abuse, and I do think that given the climate that our churches are in, that the Church of the Nazarene would do well to draw a very hard line against that. And so I would be speaking against the amendment.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wants to speak on the amendment? Microphone number 5.
Jeff Gray, USA Canada Region, South Central Ohio District. Just a question. I do not believe what is on the screen was the amendment proposed. I believe the amendment proposed was to reinstate the words that now I can't see. Was to reinstate the last line that said, or elected to, etc., and then without a proper supervision was to be at the end of that line, not in the middle. But maybe the person who made that motion could speak to that.
Okay, so you believe what you see on the screen is not, so let's give us just a second. It's coming, just, all right. Is that what local church? That's line 5. That's not where the amendment was requested to be. I believe it's line 30. Okay. Is it where it's supposed to be now?
If the original
Please.
maker of the motion could confirm, I think we're close.
The lines do not seem to coincide with what we have on the paper. Would you please, ma'am, would you please write down what you have so we can have it here? That may help us. Microphone 4.
What I have is, if you go back up to line 18, let me look and see what that says.
Sorry that the lines are not helping us,
Okay.
but now on the screen,
that is not.
it is.
So the, to go back in and remove what the committee suggested to, I'm sorry, remove the stricken section.
Yes. And where
And at
it's
the end of that section is where we would add without direct supervision.
without direct supervision. So it is there. Just the lines, the number of lines are not coinciding with what you have on the paper. But that's the place, isn't it? Are you happy? No? All right.
Ma'am, we need to have that in writing, so that if we have it in writing, then we can make sure we put it in the right place. If you can perhaps give us,
Okay, on what we've received here, it's on line 18. So it's on the first 129.3. And going down to shall not be permitted to serve in any position of responsibility for a ministry with children, granted a ministerial license, or elected or appointed in any leadership position in the local church without direct supervision.
Isn't that the place? Right?
Okay, so
That's
that is
it.
correct.
That's correct, yes. All right. So, number 4 again.
Janice Laster, Georgia. I'm against this amendment. We are taught when we go to legal counsel, keeping it legal at headquarters, that there's ramifications to have someone in that position once they've been guilty. There's legal ramifications to this.
If you could hold that for just a moment as we allow people to speak. Microphone number 7.
Good evening. I'm Azelim Gunda from the Philippines. I'd like to ask a clarification.
Are you speaking for or against, please?
Clarification.
Clarification.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
On paragraph number 15 and 16, which states guilty, my question is it a judicial pronouncement or an extra body pronouncement when we speak of being guilty?
If it is a judicial pronouncement, I don't know. Who would be able to answer that question? Let's check here. Just give us a second. If it is judicial pronouncement. If it is a judicial pronouncement. All right. Well, it sounds like it is. So, was that the only question you had?
So, for the clarification, it means it will only be applied when when a subject person is pronounced guilty by the court, but not extra body judicial pronouncement.
Okay, let's find the answer to that. Do we? I believe your intention is to discuss the amendment, right?
Yes.
Or are you going beyond that?
Well, it will be clarified and it will be defined so that if ever this will be approved, we will not meet problems.
All right, let's stick to the amendment at this point, sir, and then you may be able to speak for or against.
Okay.
Dr. Wilson?
I believe it's important for me to let the Assembly know that there are some, that this amendment would violate some legal responsibilities that we have as a denomination, some commitments that we have to allow somebody who has been an offender back in a leadership role would violate some legal obligations that we have as a denomination. And our legal counsel just reminded me of that fact.
With that being said, I believe the amendment would be out of order. So we would go back to the main question. All right. The main question is the adoption of the resolution. Anyone wants to speak? Number 5, microphone number 5.
Good evening. I'm Don Myers with the Florida District, and I am a circuit judge in Florida and have, unfortunately, some experience with cases involving sexual abuse inside of a church setting. And I'm very concerned about the nature of the proposal for a number of reasons, but one of which, and I should say by preface initially that we have a unique responsibility in the church to protect children and what I understand to be the unempowered, although I'm not really certain that I know what that means. In a fallen world, our churches need to be safe places. But when we legislate with specificity certain obligations on the part of the church in a manual, which is our bylaws, we impose higher duties upon ourselves that can then become issues in litigation. I believe it's very important that we pursue all of the goals that have been discussed in connection with this proposal, but I think it is far more appropriate for policies to be driven at the local level and in language that can be enforced by churches. The worst thing that could happen would be to impose policy and then ignore it or fail to adhere to it.
He's right.
So I would speak against the motion.
Against the motion. The motion or the adoption?
The adoption.
Thank you. All right. Who else wants to speak? Number 8, microphone number 8.
Mr. Chairman, I would speak against the adoption. It seems to me that the resolution, amended or not, goes against what Dr. Wilson just spoke to and all of the training that we received from the Church of the Nazarenes General Council about allowing previous offenders into any type of leadership role. So I guess I'm asking for clarification.
I thought he was speaking against it. He was speaking.
We think people are speaking for or against the adoption, and my understanding was that you were speaking against.
Correct.
Is that so?
For the reasons stated, I believe it conflicts with what the General Counsel just shared with Dr. Wilson, that it would put us in violation of legal agreement to not have previous offenders in leadership.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's 2 against.
Anyone else wants to speak? I see number 9, microphone 9.
Stan Hall, Missouri District, USA, Canada. I would move this be referred to the General Board. There's lots of ambiguity in this whole paragraph, not only the resolution that's before us. Had personal experience with this where I acted upon this to find out that the General Counsel had something different to say about it, which I was not aware of. And I think it just needs to go back and have a complete redoing of the whole thing.
Sir, just a question from us. Did you mean refer to the General Board or to some other entity?
Yes, sir, that's what I said.
General Board, thank you. Thank you so much. The second to that motion to refer, yes. And it takes majority, but we don't need to discuss. Anyone wants to comment on the motion to refer? Microphone 8. Do you want to speak to the motion to refer?
I want to speak against.
Against the motion to refer? Yes, please.
Anthony Holloman, Netherlands District, the chairman of the committee. We've discussed this resolution intensively this morning and also yesterday. Also in the committee, it was considered, and there was an amendment or a motion to refer to the Board of General Superintendents. And after the discussion in the committee, that motion was defeated. So the committee does not support, from its discussion, a motion to refer this to the BGS.
All right.
I just want you to know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Someone else wants to speak to microphone 1.
Monsieur le Chairman, je voulais parler contre cet amendement.
Please.
Parce que je vois que dans cet amendement, on est en train de catégoriser.
Let's wait for translation. Would you please?
Mr. Chairman, I want to speak against the amendment.
Parce que je vois dans cet article
Because I see in this article, in this resolution,
qu'on est en train de catégoriser le péché.
we are about to put sins into categories. We are about to categorize sins.
Il n'y a pas question de commettre un acte d'adultère sur un enfant ou sur un adulte.
There is no question about committing an act of adultery on a child or over an adult.
C'est la même chose. Il faut prendre une position.
It's the same thing.
Dans la même mesure que soit un enfant ou un adulte,
You
c'est la
have to
même
take
chose.
this, you have to correct the act, you have to take a position whether it is a child or an adult.
Alors ma suggestion, c'est
My suggestion
déplacer
is,
cet article dans un ordre à tous les niveaux, soit un enfant ou un adulte.
is to place this article at all levels, whether it be a child or an adult.
Thank you.
Okay,
Merci.
thank you so much. Thank you. This is a motion to refer. That's what we are discussing at this time. Number 9.
Albert Hung, Northern California District. I would speak against the motion to refer. This is far too important an issue. I believe the language as it already is in the manual is insufficient, and I believe we must resolve this now. This cannot wait.
Thank you. Anyone wants to speak for the motion to refer? Number 2.
Kafor from the Asia Pacific region. I speak for the motion to refer. I understand the importance of this motion here, as has been expressed, but there is a balance of grace and redemption and legal liability that's very important for the church. And I think whilst we want to rush this, it's important to, and our legal counsel has given that reference a short while ago. I think as much as we want to rush this, we need to be careful that we balance that redemption against the legal complications so that we don't put ourselves unnecessarily with liability. So I think it's important that we refer this and have it balancedly done with the proper wording. Just another explanation, even we just use the word guilty, person guilty here, and not even stating there that person found guilty in law or anything like that, just guilty. So guilty on what basis? Who measures that guilt? There's no explanation as such. So the wording is very loosely drafted here. So I think as much as I like the idea of putting some statement here, we need to be very cautious. I would support the motion to refer.
Thank you. Someone else for the motion to refer? Number 1.
Represento el distrito Verapaz del Norte de Guatemala.
Translation? Spanish translation.
Estoy a favor de la resolución con una enmienda que quiero proponer.
Do we have translation?
I represent the district in Guatemala, and I would like to speak on the motion to refer.
La enmienda es que sea...
No, sir, if you're talking about amendment, we are not. We are discussing a motion to refer at this point. So any amendment you have to hold for later. Now, you said that you were going to speak in favor of referring the document to the General Board. Do you still want to speak in favor of that?
Sí, una enmienda.
I would like to amend,
si es posible.
if it's possible.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank
you. Number 9, are you going to speak in favor of the motion to refer?
Yes. No, against.
No?
No.
We already have 3 who spoke against.
I want to clarify something, please, if that would be possible. I wanted to
clarify.
Initially, I made a mistake, first time all year. I went it to the General Board of Superintendents instead of the General Board. Was my motion.
Well,
I don't know if that could be possible.
All right. I'm told that is in order, since your intention was to refer to the Board of General Superintendents and not to the General Board. So we correct that. All right. I think microphone number 4 is ready. Are you speaking in favor? Okay.
Charles Davis, Southeast region, Canada, USA. I would speak in favor of referral. And part of the understanding we need to have is liability. There's liability at the local church, there's liability potentially at the district, then there's liability at the general church. When we put this in the manual, it's kind of a blanket requirement that we are to enforce. This talks about granting of ministerial licensing, which is done by the district. There's no way for the general church to enforce that, but if you've required it, then you may be responsible for it not being done. Talking about electing a person or giving a person a position of leadership in the local church, that is something that can be done. The general church has no authority over it, yet the general church, by requiring it, if it hasn't somehow or another followed through to see that it's done, the liability can come back uphill. So the referral would be to allow our corporate outside counsel, as well as the committee working on it, to try to find a way to accomplish this noble goal, but to do so in such a way that we don't inadvertently invite liability back at the general church level over areas that the general church has no control over.
Thank you, Dr. Daves. Anyone else wants to speak in favor of referral? Are you speaking in favor? Point of clarification, microphone number 4.
So my
Your name again?
Sheila Zani from the North Central USA.
Thank you.
And my concern with the original, when I amended it or made a motion to amend, was that we were going to stop at the point where we said you just can't get a local license or you can't get a ministerial license.
All right.
But they could at that point be in leadership.
All right. We are now talking about the referral. Anyone else wants to speak in favor of referral? Number 8. Is that a question?
That's a point of clarification from the chair of the committee.
Please.
Just in response to the previous speaker who talked about district ministerial license, paragraph 129 deals with the responsibilities of the local church board. So when license is addressed here, it's only talking about local ministerial license. I just wanted to clarify that this is legislation for the responsibilities of the church board.
Thank you. If someone else wants to speak in favor, number 10.
Yes, Doug Boquist, USA, Canada, Northwest Ohio District. We wrestled with this for several hours. I speak in favor of the referral inasmuch as I think we need legal counsel. I think to be able to study it, where we wrestled was between the absolute necessity of protecting our children and yet not violating the idea that there is redemption and grace. And the thought that somebody who does something egregious early in life could never serve in any capacity, not with children, but any capacity for the rest of their life, we wrestled with how to reconcile these two issues. And I think probably to turn it over to a board to study it, to involve legal counsel would be a great service to us.
Yes, take the vote. Thank you so much. It is time to vote on the motion to refer. Right, and it takes majority. So if you are in favor of the referral, please show a hand at this time. Thank you so much. Hands down. And if you are opposed to referral, show a hand. It carries, so the referral carries. And we are now coming to the time for adjournment, and we will just listen to some announcements, and then we will adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have an announcement from the Mesoamerica Regional Director. The Regional Director is asking that all delegates from the Mesoamerica region meet in caucus at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. There is an important election that has to take place to help fill the ballot for General Board. And so meet in your caucus room at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. This is the Mesoamerica region. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning in your caucus room. Please be there and please be on time. We will begin tomorrow morning at 8:30 and we'll look forward to seeing you here. We have a number of resolutions that have to be worked on, and we encourage you to be present and on time tomorrow morning at 8:30. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We are dismissed. Well, that's a good conversation. Yeah. You know, cannot.
You guys are good.
Well,
You guys are good.
This thing is a very, very sensitive
Very
one.
touchy, and they did the right thing, letting it have more
Yes,
study.
yes.